Dr. Rocio is a Sherman Fairchild Postdoctoral Scholar Research Associate in Astronomy at Caltech. Her research revolves around low mass stars, specifically in estimating their ages and understanding their evolution. She is heavily involved in outreach activities and hopes to make science more accessible to the public. Thank you so much for being here today. So, first of all, what was the motivation for you to pursue a career in astrophysics? When did you know that this is what you wanted to do for a living?
Um, okay, so I guess first I started in high school because I really enjoy physics. I really like math always. Um, I was good at it, and I just enjoyed the class. And then I enjoyed physics because it was applying math to something interesting. So I did my undergrad in physics, and during the classes, at different points during my undergrad, astronomy kept coming up. I always liked astronomy, like I'm assuming everyone else, that there is a lot of outreach about astronomy and a lot of things that just call your attention, like the stars, the sun, the universe. All of these topics are always like great for outreach. I always felt interested about that. Never thought about actually making it a career until I realized that it was a possibility for me after studying from what I was studying. And then it was kind of more like a practical decision, maybe. Um, Deciding to go into astronomy because I felt that it was the topic that I was most interested in, related to what I was studying during undergrad. So I did my thesis in undergrad, my master's thesis in particle physics, and I changed to astronomy for my PhD. And yeah, eventually I realized that I was in the correct place.
It's really nice that you did ended up realizing that are actually meant to do astronomy after all. So, from your outreach experiences, having volunteered at the Santa Barbara Museum of Natural History, what have you noticed about the public's opinion of a scientist and STEM in general?
I think there's a general curiosity about astronomy. I find that it's very common for people to have questions, and it's not always easy for them to actually ask those questions. So something that I really enjoy at the Santa Barbara Museum of Natural History, I was doing um, public shows in the planetarium. I was giving shows in Spanish. So I'm from Argentina, so my mother tongue is Spanish. And Santa Barbara has a big population of Spanish speakers. And the museum offers one show, I think it was, yeah, one show a week during the weekend for Spanish speakers. So I was giving that show. And it was very interesting to see maybe people that don't feel that comfortable speaking English. And I would have some people that would come after the show and ask me questions, or maybe someone would ask their partner to ask a question for them. And I would try to encourage them, saying, like, oh, that was a very good question, or that's a very important point that you're making, or trying to make the point that, yeah, it was not bad for them to ask a question. I wouldn't think less of them for asking a question. I actually think even more, because they dare to come and show the curiosity. Um, so I like to feel when I do this type of activities that actually I make myself approachable, in that sense, that I want to make people feel comfortable asking questions, and yeah, just expressing their curiosity. That is nothing wrong with that.
It's really nice of you because most people are very intimidated by science, I feel, that they get scared to ask questions because they may appear dumb. Um, so is there something like a typical day for you? And what do you like best and least about your job?
Typical day. Um, So right now I'm a postdoc, so I finished my PhD and I'm doing research on my own. So a typical day is mostly coming to the office. So in a quiet day, I would just be at my desk, looking at plots, I do data analysis. So I collect data from different sources. I make plots, try to find correlations, or study different topics depending on what project I'm working on. For example, I'm writing a paper, so that would require a lot of writing and reading. Reading a lot of paper sets. Another thing that I do daily is to read what is called the archive. So an important part of our job is also stay current with the research that is being done in our field and nearby fields. So what you normally do is just read what other people is publishing and who is publishing in your area, and you try to know their names and try to know what they are interested in or what they are studying or what progress has been made in the field. Because it's not only the research that you do on your own, it's also having or being aware of everything that is being done. So that requires that every day, or I don't know, 2 or 3 times a week, I read the archive, that is where all of the publications that come up are collected in astronomy and in different fields. So that's a very easy way to look at all of the publications. Other regular activities are meetings. I have meetings with mentors, which in my PhD is an advisor. It's not an advisor anymore because I don't have someone telling me what to do with my project, but I do have a lot of mentors, so people that suggest directions for my research. So it's not just me sitting down thinking. I also have people to ask for advice, like saying, I think that this is a good direction for the project. What do you think, or what do you suggest? Or they also give me advice on career in general, like which conferences to attend or what activities to prepare, what people to collaborate with. So those are one type of meeting. Then we have meetings like research groups. I participate in 2 research groups here that they have similar interests to what I do. So we normally just give a research update, say what we are doing, and people would comment on what on your research. So again, you get a lot of feedback, and or you will talk about a paper, like I was just saying, from the archive that you just read, that it sounded interesting to you and you want to share it with everyone because, I don't know, maybe you're too busy that week and you couldn't read all of the papers in the archive, and someone else will explain the paper and show the main results so everyone can be aware of it, so that we can all stay current in the topic. I also like to hear about, so in these research meetings, PhD students or undergrads will present their research too. So I like to listen to what they're doing, maybe try to help them if they have, they are stuck in something, so, and that maybe I can help with that. I really like the interaction with people. That's one of the skills that I wasn't aware from the beginning that I would need. The interaction, the asking questions to other people, the showing, hey, I did this progress in my research, what do you think? And people will give you advice, or the same the other way around, people will tell me what they are doing and I'll try to give them feedback as well. So I really enjoy that part, like not feeling that it's just myself doing research. I really like to have big collaborations and a lot of people that to count on, and that they will make input in what I'm doing, because I feel like that's the best way to do research. But I do really enjoy just the research itself, making new knowledge. I sometimes joke that I just really like I don't know, studying during high school, maybe some sort of a nerd. So I continue studying the rest of my life. It feels a little bit like that. So now instead of reading from books, I'm reading from papers. So it's way, way newer knowledge. And I'm creating some myself. And with a little bit of luck, I will add at least a few sentences in a research book at some point. And worst part, there are a lot of things to deal with. I think it's different for everyone, of course. For me, was to getting used to getting stuck. There are a lot of so I mentioned that I really like this making new knowledge, but it's very easy to say, right? But it requires a lot of effort, a lot of work, and that work is not always straightforward, right? I will sometimes have a result and be very happy about the result, and then something would happen in the middle that I cannot show and I cannot prove or I cannot fix, or I will change a little things and something would change, and something will break. For example, I'm feeding something and I'll change a little thing trying to make it better and I will make it worse, and that will make me stuck. And that stuck sometimes is not an afternoon, sometimes it's a week, sometimes it's a month, with a little, very, very little thing. For example, sometimes it's big and that feels a little bit better because it's like, oh, I'm dealing with this huge problem. And sometimes it's a little thing and I'm stuck for a month. And it's very, it requires a lot of effort not to just throw everything, like the not to just stop doing everything and keep going. Eventually I got used to that stuck feeling. I still struggle with it, but it's one of the worst feelings in my job, that during period, believing that I'm gonna get away from that at some point is like the only thing that keeps me going. You can tell that right now I'm not in a stuck moment, because you could tell, you would be able to tell if I'm in a stuck moment. But that's, I don't know, that just happens once in a while. And yeah, having to continue doing the research, believing that I'm going to get unstuck eventually, is one of the worst moments in my job. I really don't like my job in those moments.
It sounds very frustrating when you have a small problem and you can't figure out. But the good parts, obviously, they sound very exciting. What has been a favorite memory from your career so far?
One of my best memories is just maybe not an event, but I really, really like my research group for my PhD. I had two main advisors and I just love them both. And I have an extremely good memory of my PhD, even though we have our differences. And the PhD, again, is not straightforward in any sense. In general, my research group during my PhD was extremely supportive, and they had great ideas, and we had a very good time, not only doing science, but also outside of the science. Like going to events together, or even just hanging out at work. We really had a good time, and I do really have the feeling that it was exactly what I needed at that point. Something that I keep telling people, that when they ask me like what is the main thing to do when you look for when you're looking for a PhD, for me is the advisor. It's it has to be a good fit, and in the sense that, I don't know, it depends on everyone, but maybe you're a person that likes to do more research on your own, so you need an advisor that is more hands-off, that is not constantly checking on you. But maybe you're not that time. Maybe you need a little bit more encouragement, a little bit more hand holding. So you need an advisor that is more on top of you all the time. and helping you constantly. So it depends a lot on everyone. So finding that good fit for me was one of the most important things for my PhD, even more important than the research topic. Like I could adjust the research topic, but the PhD advisor was like, yeah, I don't know, keep me going. I'm not sure, but it's something I definitely go back to now that I'm more on my own. Like, what would my advisor do? What they would say? Uh, that's something, yeah, that definitely keeps me going. Or even just texting them, like, "Hey, can we have a quick meeting because I have a question?" They are both still there.
Very random question, but what's your favorite space image or quote?
My favorite quote is from Socrates, that he said, "The only thing that I know is that I don't know anything." I'm translating from Spanish, so I don't know what is the right way to say it in English, but that's more or less what it says. And I really like that quote because it keeps me down to earth. Because that happens every single time when I'm doing research. Every time that I feel like I understand a topic, something will come up that I realize that, oh, maybe I don't understand it completely, and I need to go down this rabbit hole trying to understand this new path that I didn't see before. It's good to keep track that there are a lot of things that we don't know still. And favorite image. Well, the most recent one, from JWST, it's amazing. The wide field. I even have it hanging from in my house, like right next to my desk. That's a very good image. Again, just as a reminder of how big the universe is, and yeah, how much we don't know. Sometimes I kind of try to, it's very easy to get lost in the data when I'm doing analysis, and sometimes taking a step back and realizing the things that I'm studying are so far away from us, but also there's so much more because I study stars that are small. So usually I study the things that are kind of nearby us, because if not, it's very hard to see them if they are far away. So I kind of study things that are far away, but not that much. And even if you go even further, you have the galaxy and even more galaxies, and that keeps just going. And it's actually a feeling that I really like knowing, realizing how much more there is outside.
It in a way humbles you how we humans are so full of ourselves. We forget that we're just so tiny and there's so much out there and so much knowledge that we don't even know.
Yeah.
What advice would you offer to someone who wants a career like you?
I mean, first step is just study. Either a degree in physics or a degree in astronomy. And so, first, I would suggest making sure that you actually really enjoy it. It's not an easy path, and I guess as any path that you might take, it's usually not easy. So it's important to actively make the decision. Yes, this is where I want to be. Like going to see, or like you're doing, talking to someone that is actually doing the job, seeing what the job looks like, and seeing if that agrees with what you think would be a good fit for you. Like, I don't know, would you be happy sitting at a desk, or working in a computer, or coding a lot, that type of things. Making sure that you really feel that it's going to make you happy. It's very hard to tell, right, what is going to be in the future, but I really believe in that, that inside feeling that is telling you, yes, this is the path that I want. That's what I did during high school. Just go and talk to someone that was doing their PhD, and saw what their office looked like and what they were doing at the moment, and they showed me a bit of their screen, what they were analyzing. I don't know, something inside told me, yes, this is fine, this is what I want to do. And making sure, yeah, that you're gonna be happy there. And then the other thing would be patience and consistency. It's gonna require a lot of that. and constantly talking to people, looking for advice, um, surrounding yourself with friends or colleagues that you feel comfortable working with in every situation during grad school, people that you feel comfortable studying with, for example, or during research, people that you feel comfortable doing research with. I feel like that sense of community, that's something that helped me quite a lot, finding the right people for each stage that I went through. That helped me a lot.
That's very helpful advice. It's the inner calling of a person that tells you if this is really meant for you. What unanswered questions about the universe excite you the most?
There are so many. Um, there there is so many. I'm trying to think of one. um, so I guess the closest to myself, to my own research, um, is the possibility of finding other planets where life is possible. We are so far away from answering that question, but it's what we work towards. In my case, is the star very active that is not going to allow any life in the planet, for example? That's like the part that I study on my own, but there are a lot of things that go into answering that question, like what is the atmosphere of the planet, or the composition of the planet. And it's such a difficult question to answer, but just the knowing that we probably eventually will be able to answer that question. Eventually means years and years ahead of us, right? But not near that point. But eventually, who knows? We might be able to answer that question. What are the conditions? What are the conditions, or which planets, or can we find a planet that is habitable? Um, Getting there, that's another different question. Yes, that is even further away. We might not even be able to do it, but even if we could find it, that would be very interesting.
Certainly. What a skill that you require as an astronomer that you did not think would be needed before starting?
Well, I mentioned before the interaction with people. Um, it's very it's very important to do your research, to publish papers, but it's important to be able to communicate that research. So going to conferences or talking to people and explaining your research, that's something super important. And being able to explain it not only in the way that is clear so people understand what you did, also explaining why it's important, like putting a lot of emphasis in this is why I'm doing this. Not everyone works in the same field, and it's not clear to everyone why a research would be interesting. So pointing out, being able to understand where your research is important and why people should care, um, being able to explain all that's a lot of things that I need to work. I had to work during my PhD, and now even more. A skill that is very, very useful. And also, well, just inflating yourself and being able to say, yes, what I'm doing is important, and what I'm saying is, I did all the research right, and these are my results, and you should care about it. That's another thing. And then, of course, the writing, the writing of the papers. It takes a lot of skill, of course. Writing, especially in my case, that is not my first language. That took also a lot of effort because there are two different things that I need to work on. One is, well, writing in English, and the other one is the scientific writing. That is not the same as a novel or whatever other writing that you can think of. It has a specific way, specific expressions. You cannot be, for example, in a research paper, you cannot leave anything like, oh, this is more or less like that. No, that you cannot say that in a paper. You have to say, this is what we did, this is why we did it, this is the result, this is what it means. It has to be extremely clear, every single sentence. No sentence can be, we added a little bit, or we fit it more or less this, or no, it has to be extremely precise. And writing that way, it takes some training, that it takes a lot of writing and correcting, and a lot of reading of what other people is doing. I think those two will be the main ones.
That is wonderful. Thank you so much, Dr. Rocio. You shared a lot of helpful advice, and I'm sure my audience will greatly benefit from that because I definitely did.